I have Zirc in the house.
So it's lighter, brighter, and more ergonomical.
You'd actually be surprised at how different products are in dental versus orthodontics.
It also kind of provides somewhat of like a efficiency, SOP standards and procedures, recommendations to make them more efficient within the office.
So there's, different types of instruments that are on the tray.
We really like doing the dental space very well.
Listen up, America. This is the American Made Podcast, the show that highlights America's business leaders and experts in all aspects of the manufacturing industry. If it's made in America, you'll find it here.
China. Made in America. Products made with American heart, American sweat.
Now, your host of the American Made Podcast, Jason J. Webb.
What's up, America? It's Jason Webb. Today, I have Zirc in the house. And representing Zirc, Brian Schoberg. How you doing, Brian?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. And Brian, you are the Director of Marketing. Is that right?
That's right. Director of Marketing at Zirc Dental.
All right. And to your right, we have Andy Marquette, the Director of Operations. How you doing, Andy?
Good, Jason. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right. So Zirc Dental, let's just jump right into it. What does Zirc Dental do? And I don't know who to ask these questions to, so answer it how you like. If you want to just jump in or take turns, we'll just see what works. So tell me a little bit about Zirc.
Yeah, I'll go into what we do, and I'll leave you with the history. But Zirc is a manufacturer of plastic injection molding products, and we make products exclusively for the dental market. And so all of our products are, like I said, resin-based, and they are somehow in the dental market, helping them with efficiencies, visualization, and isolation. So we're probably best known for our mirrors. If you were to talk to a dental practice and you go to the dentist in a couple of weeks or get a cleaning and you ask them what mirror they use, I bet you there's a good chance they either know about Zirc mirrors or they're using a Zirc mirror. And that's due to it's resin-based, so it's a lot lighter, it's more ergonomical, and then the lens is brighter. So it's lighter, brighter, and more ergonomical. And then our best product line and most exclusive and comprehensive line is Color Method, which is like a Six Sigma type of manufacturing concept for Six Sigma. Is the same for dental practices. So we help with clinical efficiencies through this Color Method product that I can get into later. But as far as the history, Andy probably knows more about that than me.
Yeah. Andy, you got the history down?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
Founded, 66 years ago now, and 56 years ago, 1967. Jim Campion was our founder, and the name Zirc actually comes from, I think, one of, if not the first product that they manufactured. It was a zirconium silicate abrasive strips. Those are used in polishing for restorative procedures in the dental office. So maybe like getting a crown, they're going to polish it up to make sure the bite and everything fits well afterwards. Then use these abrasive strips, and it was one of the first products he came up with and sold to a larger dental manufacturer. Spun off the company into what's now called Zirc, and our whole suite of dental products that we make.
So I had braces back in the day, and I remember one visit consisted of them sticking it felt like two-sided sandpaper between my teeth, and making room to put like a bracket around my tooth. So does that sound like the abrasive strip that Jim used back in the day?
Sounds like it. You'd actually be surprised at how different the products and procedures are in dental versus orthodontics.
Okay.
I'm sure it's the same type of
Something
product
like
that
that
was used for
anyway.
that, yeah.
Why dental? He wasn't a dentist, was he?
No, just passionate for it. And, I think he got his start in plastic injection molding. He was just a really smart guy and saw an opportunity here in the marketplace for kind of an underserved group, and started with that first foray with the abrasive strips, and then realized there's a whole mountain of needs here in this market that weren't being served in a creative way.
Yeah. So he started this 66 years ago. Is he still around?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's doing great. He's in the office all the time, still coming up with great ideas, efficiencies, things like that. Yep.
Now, Bill Campion, does that ring a bell, that name?
Mm-hmm. They're cousins. Jim and Bill are cousins.
Okay. All right. Bill's a client of mine.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. W.A. Campion, the CPA.
Yep. They do some work for us. Small world.
Yeah, he was actually on the podcast a while back.
Oh, really?
Bill and his co-worker, Reed.
Oh, perfect.
Do you know Reed?
No, I don't know Reed. Yeah, but that's awesome. But we're out of here. If Bill's done it in the past, I don't want to be a part of this anymore.
Yeah, he didn't do that good. I'm sure you guys will do way better. All right, so Brian, back to you. Six Sigma color. What is that exactly?
Well, Six Sigma, maybe you've heard of it, but manufacturers all across the world, have learned the Six Sigma process. So there's that. I don't know if it's trademarked by this point or not, but just learning how to do manufacturing better. So Six Sigma and Lean Six Sigma are just principles and frameworks that other manufacturers have used to create lean manufacturing workflows.
Okay.
So in the same way that is working for manufacturers like ourselves, we help dental practices with their clinical efficiencies. And so we call it color method, just like they call it Six Sigma. Color method is a clinical efficiency, a lean clinical efficiency workflow and framework for dental practices to save time, save money, and improve patient experience across the board. So it's kind of a complicated to describe in a short sentence, but basically it's a 5-pillar framework to help dental practices. And the first pillar is color. So we make all our products, or the majority of our products, I should say, in 16 different colors. And so our production floor is quite busy running different types of colors around that Andy can attest to for sure. And what we encourage is to pick a color per procedure. So hygiene, for example, would be purple, and you would use a purple tub, a purple tray, a purple cassette. You'd also use purple bands or purple tape that we also make to color coordinate everything that's needed for that procedure. And so what that does is help people with efficiencies, right? And so if you're a brand new hygienist at an office, it would be easy for somebody to say, just go grab the purple tubs and bring it to the treatment room. So color is the big framework that we kind of, it's also an organizational principle that's been used, for a long, long time, organizing with color. And then I'll just go through the other 4 pieces of the pillars. So there's color is the first one. The second one is instrument management. The third one is material management. And then the fourth and fifth ones are what to do in the treatment room and what to do in central sterilization. And so that entire concept, those 5 pillars, is what we teach. And then we also have the products to fulfill what's needed for them.
Okay. So let me try to recap this. So the way I understand this, not only do you guys manufacture products for the dental industry that can be color coded according to what process or procedure they're doing within the office, but you also kind of provide somewhat of like a efficiency SOP, standards and procedures, recommendations to make them more efficient within the office. So it's like, here's our products and here's a service we offer along with that to help you guys become more efficient in a sense.
Exactly. Yep.
Well, that's cool. That's cool. I've never heard of that.
Yeah, it's a pretty fun concept, and the concept for consulting and the services that we've offered is actually pretty new in the last 4 or 5 years, as we've seen the need change. So we got really good at making the products, the resin-based plastic injection molded products that go into the practices, and then we started seeing the need, which is that dental practices we've kind of coined the term inherited legacy errors, where the way they were taught in dental school or the way they just inherited some of the concepts of the dental practice in terms of clinical efficiencies and workflow could use some improvement. So we started teaching how to use the products in the most efficient way.
Cool. So where's Zirc located and how many employees are there?
We're in Buffalo, Minnesota, and I think we're just under 70 employees right now.
Okay. And have you always been located in Buffalo, and has it always been dental related?
Yeah, always dental, always in Minnesota. There's been a couple different spots, but we've been in this Buffalo location for a couple decades now, I think.
Yeah. And you guys ship all over the country, all over the world?
All over the world, Asia, Europe, United States. Yep.
Yeah.
From little old Buffalo.
Wow. All right. So let's get into the people here. Brian, you are the director of marketing. So what's your background? Where did you grow up? Did you go to college? How did you get in this position?
Yeah, I grew up in Chisago, way up there in the Northland. I spent the first 12 years of my career as a video producer and in nonprofit communications. So I worked for a church and other small nonprofits for 12 years. But I've always had a passion, insatiable passion for the private sector marketing. And in fact, when I realized over the 12 years career in nonprofit that the private sector principles weren't going to be adapted as well in the nonprofit sector for many different reasons, of course, I knew I was going to land in the private sector eventually. And so when I started looking, I was looking for a small manufacturer about Zirc size where I could bring the concepts that I know and love, which is branding and marketing ops, to a company that could use it. And so that's kind of where I started, was video producer and all that work, which I did as a solopreneur, entrepreneur, freelancer. Got me a lot of cool projects that helped me develop some marketing principles. And I went to school at Crown College in St. Bonnie out on the west side, and I transferred to St. Cloud State for a couple of years. But eventually I just dropped out because I don't like school very much.
Yeah, me neither.
So I didn't graduate.
Yeah. I used to be a chiropractor.
Shut up. For real?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not a left field.
That's a lot of freaking school, bro.
I bet.
Yeah. So it was 2 years at Normandale. And then I transferred over to Northwestern College of Chiropractic, located here in Bloomington. And that was 3.5 years straight, no breaks. And you're taking about 22 to 28 semester credits at a pop. So you went to class from morning to dinner time. And then I would work out, go home, eat, study, get up early, study a little bit more, go to school, and you're always taking an exam. It was brutal. Left there with about $110,000 in student loans.
Wow.
That was back in 2001.
And then decided to pivot careers.
Yeah. So sometimes I think of that, like, what is it? About 5-6 years of college, $110,000 in student loans. Now I make most of my money in insurance. That was like a week of class, one test, total of like $400.
Not always a correlation between the two, is there?
And you don't have to touch people.
Yeah. Yeah. As a chiropractor, one thing I discovered is I didn't really enjoy the patient treatment part that much. I enjoyed running a business. I enjoyed the operations. I enjoyed the sales piece, but yeah, going there and cracking necks and, adjusting backs and soft tissue work. And I'm like, no, I'm done with this.
But what, I suppose you saw all the people coming in with workplace injuries and things like that, and you saw an opportunity to insurance, or what?
Yeah. So I pride myself in that I have a unique approach to workers' comp insurance. And a lot of that stems from the fact of my medical background for a couple of reasons. One, work comp has a medical component to it, so I can kind of talk the talk and navigate a little differently, right? And then as a chiropractor, I would talk to my patients who got injured at work. They didn't know what was going on. They didn't know they have the job to come back to. They haven't spoken to their employer. They didn't know if they should speak to an attorney. They didn't know how the work comp system worked. And then the few times I did reach out to the employer, they were equally clueless. They were just hoping the insurance company would handle it. They didn't know, visit frequency, treatment plan, diagnosis. They had no idea about anything that was going on. They were just like, the insurance company's just going to handle it. And I'm like, well, it's funny how life works. Like I remember experiencing all that. And then years later, getting into insurance, but not so much the work comp piece. It was more like home and auto, personal lines. I got my start with Allstate, and they didn't really do much commercial insurance. So, but here I am, man, doing my thing in work comp and in insurance with a medical background. And prior to that, I was a medic in the Army, combat medic. So,
Okay.
Yeah. Weird, huh?
Yeah.
Well, you started off in video production, and now, video and marketing. I mean, was there some crossover there that helped you?
Yeah. I mean, I would say of all of the creative services, video, graphics, audio, whatever it might be, video production is probably the most all encompassing because you get an objective for video to produce a video. So let's say a company, we did a lot of work for Children's Hospital in Minnesota, and they say, here's the desired outcome. Well, for a video producer, you've got to go from there's a lot of steps to get from where you're at to the desired outcome. And a lot of it has to do with communication principles, marketing principles, and psychology of, people that you expect to be watching the video in general. And so that's where I learned to cut my teeth on marketing in general. And then you add the nonprofit communication side to it, and you're working with communications is a huge thing in nonprofit, right? Because you're not really looking for the bottom line to increase. You're looking to have go to a flat budget and do it really effectively. And then of course you look at the next year and what your KPIs and different types of goals are for that. And so both of those worlds colliding kind of turned me into a decent marketer. And then when I stepped in the private sector, Zirc has allowed me to learn all the facets that I haven't, understood before, that I didn't get the chance to, exercise. So,
do you do any video stuff for Zirc?
Yes, although not nearly as much. It's kind of I'm kind of rusty now. If you stop doing it for a while, then you don't get quite, or you get worse at it. And so the last 4 or 5 years, I've done so much less that I'm not even very well equipped to do it as much anymore. But
with technology, I mean, the speed at which things increase or improve, it's crazy. And then you throw AI in there now.
Yeah. Right. I'm probably 2 or 3 years away from just being simply not a video producer. I couldn't make a video in about 2 or 3 years, but I'm traveling to Texas with some of our teammates to try to make some videos. So we'll know pretty soon how good I am.
Okay. All right. Andy, Director of Operations, what's your background?
Yeah, so I spent about the last 7 years prior to coming to Zirc in municipal government, managing a few different departments there. So I did not have a manufacturing background, but still, had a lot of experience with getting multiple teams to work together, trying to strategize big picture, across a broad group of people, trying to be collaborative, find efficiencies. And I've been able to take that over to Zirc, and they were just growing so fast and continue to do so. And the changing landscape, you referenced AI, things like that, regulatory changes around the globe. It's a constantly evolving environment, especially for a company that's growing so fast and really increasing its suite of products and services at all times. There was just an opportunity to come in and learn fast, and it's been a great place to connect with all the different groups and lead different groups. It's an awesome company to work for.
So when you got hired there, were you hired to be a director of operations with no real direct operations experience, or were you promoted within? How'd that work?
Promoted within. I started with a different title, and I wasn't overseeing our actual production group, so the group that manages the injection molding processes. So I had a lot of learning to do there before I could step in and help out with that group.
Okay. And Jim, is he still what's his title? CEO, president, owner?
So we've got a second generation president now. His daughter, Nicole, would be who primarily runs the company today, but he's still intimately involved, and we get to hear a lot of his, ideas, strategies, things like that. He's very involved, but it's moved on to second generation now.
He's probably considered founder.
Yep.
Yeah.
Founder, but he's still in the office most days?
Yeah, he'll retreat to Arizona where it's a lot warmer for part of the year, of course. Yeah. But when he's up here for the summer, he's coming in and checking on all things, and he's still got a lot of the ideas in terms of new products are either coming from him, or the ones that are brought up are certainly on his plate to keep continuing to develop.
All right, so let's take a look at your website here quick. I got it up on the screen, and if I click on products, what is it that you guys do here? So we got tubs. So that's where the dental instruments go into, and trays, right?
Yeah, tubs would be materials. And so a dental practice needs all sorts of different materials for each procedure. So if you talk about hygiene, that's probably the one that's most common for people, right? If you go to the dental office, you see a hygienist, right? Yeah. And then Mr. and Mrs. Dentist would come in and check your teeth for what's next, right? So the hygienist will clean, and then either the hygienist and or the assistant would come in with the doctor and evaluate your teeth on a deeper level. So each of the procedures that they would do would need a tub, a material tub, and they use all sorts of different materials. I mean, hundreds of medical companies make different types of materials. And each dentist is going to use different materials that they want to use or prefer to use. And all of those materials would end up in a tub. So it's really well organized. So they'd have everything that they need right at chairside if they were going to perform some sort of root canal or a filling, or if the hygiene's using their materials, different types of cleaning materials for your teeth. And that would be in the tub.
And then the tubs go in the racks?
Yeah, for the most part,
Yeah.
it kind of depends on the dental practice and how it's set up. But the other main thing is the tray. So the tray would come with it, and as you can see there's different types of instruments that are on the tray, and a dentist will use all sorts of different instruments. Right? There's hundreds of different types of instruments, and it's just up to the doctor's preference on what they want to use.
Man, you got a bunch of them on here. I'm just going to rattle through some of these. You got racks, instrument holders, easy ID, rings, and tape. What is that?
So as you can see, they're putting it onto a instrument, and so just in the same token of color coding, right? So like the purple tray, that instrument would be set up for just hygiene, for example, if we were using the color purple as one example.
Do they call that the Explorer? Instrument?
I don't know if that specific one is, but that is
Something
a
like
dental
that.
instrument. Yeah.
Is that the Gracie?
Yeah. That might be the Gracie. Yeah.
The Gracie, okay. Burr and endo holders. So these are like little grinding wheels. Is that what that is?
Exactly. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So that would be if a doctor was going to do a root canal or a filling, they'll grind out the decayed teeth and then they would fill it with that. And there's hundreds of burrs and endo type tools. It's just up to the doctor which one they're going to use.
Okay. Mouth mirrors and mouth magic. Mirror magic. Oh, geez. Sorry. Not mouth magic. It's mirror magic.
This isn't that kind of podcast.
Yeah, right. Isolation. So that looks like, I don't know, what is this? Is like a tray of some sort or a guard?
Yeah, the isolation is it's not a tray. It's to isolate a different part of the mouth. So that particular one's called Mr. Thirsty, and it's has a built-in bite block, so it goes into the mouth and it's hooked up to the suction, so it's sucking the spit and saliva and stuff out while also retracting the tongue. And so that was one of the products that actually accelerated Zirc's growth during the COVID era because of its aerosol capabilities. So it will pull aerosols out of the air for dental procedures. So, and there's quite a few different products in isolation. That's probably our third biggest line. So it'd be mirrors, organization, and then isolation.
Okay. Evacuation, spit suckers.
That's right. Yep.
Operation products, dispensers and organizers, miscellaneous, denture and retainer boxes. This one, you guys need a color background in your website, right?
That's true. Yeah. So we should talk to the marketing team about that. We're actually in the process of building a brand new site right now. So.
Gotcha. All right. So any plans expanding in the future, either into different industry or different products or anything on the horizon that I know you can't let the cat out of the bag, but is there anything you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, I think Zirc is growing.
Are you hiring?
Yeah,
We are always hiring. There's always a number of products in development. I think we really like doing the dental space very well. So as far as expanding to a different industry, I don't see that in the near term, but you never know. But there's always new products being developed. Nicole and Jim always have their finger on the pulse of the industry and are never short on ideas.
Back in 2008, when the housing crash hit, the recession, you guys probably weren't there then, but have you heard if that affected your business at all back in the day?
I wasn't there. I haven't heard of the impact so much, but I was there actually when the pandemic first hit and that government shutdown, impacted doctor's office, dental, a lot of
that's right.
dental stuff was deemed.
Dentists got hammered.
They really did get hammered. And my first day at the company, I always like to tell people, was the first and only, and hopefully last, negative sales day in the history of the company. So we didn't sell. Not a single order was placed that day, which doesn't ever happen. And we had some returns.
That was your first day.
That was my first day. Yeah.
Oh,
so
man.
I like to talk about the turnaround that I've engineered
Single-handedly.
single-handedly.
Yeah, nice. All right. So, is there anything else that we should cover about Zirc, or any interesting stories about your background that you want to bring up? Plans for the future, either one of you? Well, let me go with this. Brian, you have kids?
I do. 2 kids. Yep.
Yeah. And you live in Buffalo?
No, I still live in White Bear Lake.
White Bear Lake.
Yep.
So that is a commute.
That is a commute. Yeah. I luckily get 2 work from home days. Thank goodness. But yeah, otherwise I'm in the
Okay.
office.
What keeps you in White Bear Lake?
Interest rates, I think.
Ah,
Yeah. No,
What are they now? Like 8%?
7 million. Yeah, I don't know. No, somebody just bought a house. They told me it was they got it for 6.8. So
What a
not,
steal.
Not terrible, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think we bought the house in 2016, so we got a really good deal on it. It was towards the end of the or right before the housing boom started going back up, and so
Okay.
we're in a really good spot in our house. We love it. We love White Bear Lake.
Yeah.
Yep.
All
But I
right.
also love Zirc. So
How old are your kids?
I have a 5.5-year-old and a 3.5-year-old, Remy and Cully, 2 boys.
Oh, cool names.
Yeah.
I got a Tyson and a Jax. They're 10 and 11.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. And Andy, do you live in Buffalo?
No, I'm in Wright County though. Monticello, just 15, 20 minutes away.
Okay. And you got kids and stepkids.
Yeah. So 4 in total, 6, 8, 10, and 12, all sorts of sports, all sorts of school activities. We're running around like crazy people nonstop.
Yeah. Yeah. By coincidence, your stepson and my sons, both of them, play sports together. Like Jackson played football with your son, and then Tyson plays hockey with your son.
Yeah,
Small world.
That is a small world. Yeah.
And I didn't know that coming in here, right?
And we've got 8 more years of celebrating championships together. So our relationship is going to grow and flourish here in the coming years.
For sure. You going to the hockey scrimmage on coming up on Saturday?
I'm a one day at a time kind of guy. I think my first hockey event is this Thursday. So we'll be at something for hockey on Thursday. And then I'm sure if there's one on Saturday, I'll be at that too.
I've totally seen a need for like a hockey parent influencer. So like Instagram, because you hockey parents, and I only have young kids, so maybe this is still coming from me, but I have really good friends who are hockey parents. And I'm telling you, man, like you guys spend a lot of time at hockey stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's insane. There's only so much ice to go around and a lot of kids that want to play. We are in Minnesota.
Yeah. I've heard Minnesota has more kids that play hockey per capita than anywhere.
Do you wonder if that stat comes out about I've heard the same about Minnesota for golf. Is that true
Really?
for golf? More golfers per capita than any other state.
I've heard that for Arizona in golf.
There we go. I wonder if every state just pushes
maybe.
this narrative for themselves.
Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. So for example, to your point, Tyson has something going on with hockey, I think 5 or 6 days this week.
Wow.
Between practices, there's a scrimmage, and then there's a 3-on-3 scrimmage. And the regular season really hasn't all that started yet. I mean, regular games haven't started yet. Tournaments haven't started yet. I mean, tournaments can be 3-4 days long, and you have to pull them out of school. Like the first game can be on a Thursday night, and you're in Wisconsin.
Yeah, we've got one in a couple weeks where that's the case. That seems a little crazy to me, but
Yeah. The kids think it's awesome. They get out of school and go to run around the hotel and act a fool.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah. So you got something to look forward to. And I didn't play hockey.
No.
So, I didn't care what they kind of fell in love with. I just wanted them to try a bunch of stuff until they, latched onto something. And we tried soccer, of course. And then we tried wrestling, and we tried like parkour, gymnastic stuff, and then tried hockey.
Yeah.
And then it's been hockey
Hook, line, and sinker.
ever since. Yeah.
Pun
Kids
intended.
love it. I think it's because it's so fast paced. Compare that to baseball, where you're just kind of sitting around
Yeah,
and
that's
waiting for
true.
your turn, or standing on the outfield. And yeah, there's not much standing around in hockey.
Did you play a sport before the Army?
Football.
Yeah.
Was my sport. Yeah. And
Were
I
you-
coached football this year.
Nice.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah. Did you go in the Army right at 18 then?
No, I went to okay. So right out of high school, I had some fines to pay off. You know, I was a bit of a hellraiser. Ran with the wrong crowd, and I don't know. Got in this street fight and racked up some medical bills on this other guy that I had to pay off
Oh boy.
and pay my attorney. And so I couldn't start college right away. And I did concrete work for a year. That was brutal. Sun up, sun down for a year. The guy paid me cash, like I think it was $400 a week every Friday. He'd hand me $400 bills. So with that money, I paid off my attorney and paid the restitution. And then that next fall, I started college over in Hutchinson Technical College. Now they call themselves Ridgewater Community College.
Fancy.
Yeah, that sounds better.
Yeah. And I graduated with something called non-destructive testing. So you test materials without affecting their shape, fit, or form. So yeah, a place I might work would be a nuclear power plant. They shut down periodically, and then you have to go in there and crawl around on the reactor and take x-rays of looking for stress fractures, preventative maintenance stuff, you know. So I did a lot of work at nuclear power plants where you picked up radiation. You'd wear these things called dosimeters, and every beep was a millirem of radiation you're picking up. And there were some hot spots, they called it, where I was crawling on the reactor, and this dosimeter was going beep, 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 beep. And I'm like, oh, shit. And then oil refineries. And it seemed like there was like a fire or some kind of minor explosion on a weekly basis. That was my tipping point, working at the Coke refinery here by St. Paul. They had me crawling around, and I don't know how they got away with this. They had me crawling on this pipe that ran horizontally. I was probably 30 feet up. It was about this big around. And I had to take out these plugs of insulation, test the metal thickness to see if it was eroding from the inside out, okay? Because the whatever material they're running through there was abrasive.
Coca-Cola.
Yeah, no, not that kind of Coke. So, and I was walking up there. If you stood too long in one spot, it was still hot, and your boots started getting slippery. No harness. You weren't hooked up. And if you fall, man, that could be it. So that was at the Coke refinery. And then another place I would work commonly would be a paper mill. Inside these huge boilers that were like 120 feet tall. You'd go inside these things. They were massive. I mean, it was like, I don't know, 50, 100 feet across. And you line the thing with scaffolding all the way up. And you're crawling around the scaffolding with a grinding wheel and testing pipe thickness of the inside of the boiler. And you had to wear this little device that detected a poisonous gas that would be emitted. And supposedly you can't smell it, taste it, see it, but it'll kill you. So therefore you had to wear this little device, right? And they would hand out these devices at the beginning of your shift, which were 12 hours long. And it looked like somebody just drugged this thing like behind their pickup on the way to work. I'm like, there's no way this thing works, man. And you'd get after your shift was done, you'd just be head to toe, dirt, dust, soot. So between nuclear power plants picking up radiation, oil refineries with heights, fires and explosions, and then paper mills with this poisonous gas. I'm like, I gotta know. I don't want to do this anymore. And living out of a suitcase. So then that's when I joined the Army and became a combat medic and got money for college. And then I started at Normandale Community College. Did that for 2 years. And yeah, it's been a journey.
Been in school a lot.
Yeah, I'm done though.
Yeah.
Finally, 49 years old.
Finally done.
Finally done.
Good for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I know what I want to be when I grow up now.
I'm surprised you didn't develop any superpowers or something like that with all the chemicals.
Yeah.
You would have been a candidate.
Yeah. Yeah. I glow a little bit at night, but other than that, I'm cool. Yeah. And speaking of that, it reminds me, I was down in Mexico. I don't know. It's probably about 3 years ago. I had my shorts drying outside on the balcony, and we were ground level. And went outside to get my shorts, brought them in. Was putting my, shorts on to go outside, and a scorpion fell out and stung me in the leg.
Oh my gosh.
And I was hoping, I've seen enough Spider-Man movies.
Yeah.
Of course. I was hoping. That's some kind of super scorpion power, but
You could have spent the rest of your life known as Scorpio or something.
that was sweet. Yeah. No luck. Just a stinging sensation. And so I killed the scorpion and I put it in a glass cup. Like, I don't know what to do. I should probably tell somebody. I don't want to die. I have no idea. And I wasn't about to sit there and Google it. So I go outside my room, and the first person I see is this Mexican landscape maintenance guy. And I showed him, and he didn't speak very good English. I don't think he spoke any English. And I showed him, I'm trying to tell him, scorpion bit me right here. And, then he got it. And then this sheer terror on his face just instantly came to him as soon as he understood what I was telling him. And I'm like, oh shit. He started to freak me out. And he's like, I don't know. He's yelling, his Spanish and telling me to follow him. And we're running across this, this open grassy area to the beach. And he brought me to a lifeguard, and they're speaking Spanish and they're looking at me, and I was like, But there was a doctor that basically was there all the time at this big resort, and they brought me to the doctor, and they just asked me questions that related to any kind of anaphylactic type shock symptoms, like, can you breathe okay? And she took checked my heart and blood pressure, and that was it. I was fine. No big deal.
Thanks
But no
for the radiation.
superpowers either.
Yeah. Well,
If you die, we'll know that it was a poisonous scorpion.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's still time though. It could develop.
Yeah. It's pretty sweet. I showed my boys, and they were very impressed
Of course.
that the scorpion bit their dad, and I survived.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
As cool as it gets. I respect you more.
Yeah. What can I say?
So I was going to ask you, you talked to a lot of business owners. Like, where do you see the economy going in the next couple of years?
Well, when I ask that question, then the politics come up, right?
Sure.
And I would say most business owners in this type of more blue collar industry tend to be on the conservative side of things. And I think a lot of people have the impression that, well, if the Democrats remain in power, then it's going to be an issue. If Trump gets reelected or what have you, then we might be all right, and things will start headed in the better direction. But I don't know. Personally, I don't know. I think I try not to get too heavy on one side or another on the politics, not simply because, my beliefs lean towards more of a conservative belief, right? But I don't know. I think it's the super elite versus everybody. It doesn't matter if you're black, white, left or right, gay or straight. It's just there's these few ultra powerful people that kind of pull the puppet strings and make things happen. And I feel like losers will continue to lose, winners will continue to win, regardless of who's president. But to answer your question, I don't know. Yeah.
Who does?
Do you know? No.
No, I don't know either.
Yeah.
We were just talking this morning a little bit about it just seems to be on some shaky ground, with where it's headed. So I just say, my heart's for the small businesses like ours and others that, it's going to be hard, I think, like it is every year.
Yeah. So would you say your biggest competition is overseas right now? Is there
Different types of competition. At the end of the day, we make plastic injection molded products. So somebody can make a cheaper knockoff for less. It's not going to be as strong. It's not going to hold up to years of sterilization. It's not going to be the quality, but it can look the same in a picture online. So there is that. But no, there's other manufacturers within the United States and around the world that are making high quality dental products. But with regard to the economy and issues like that right now, inflation catches everybody, right? So your workforce, here in the Midwest, their dollar doesn't go quite as far. So you need to compensate them a little bit better. At the same time, there's downward pressure on pricing because those practitioners out there, I mean, there's just less money to go around. So people aren't automatically accepting, price increases like we were a couple of years ago. Like, oh, it's a pandemic. What are you going to do? That's not really the case anymore. Everybody's dollar is stretched a little more thin. And so, that's driving prices down, that drives wages up. It's tough for manufacturers right now. Luckily, we're we have the ability to be agile, pivot business strategies, and come up with really creative solutions. Zirc has done really well in this environment, but other companies haven't fared so well. It's been difficult.
Well, one thing I think that's pretty cool is this whole Six Sigma thing. Like, are there a lot of companies that implement kind of business practices along with the products that they provide? Is that a common thing? That, hey, this is how you should kind of run this aspect of your business, and this is how our products fit in? I don't know.
Yeah, I think the way that Six Sigma was originally founded was on lean manufacturing. So how to cut costs, how to evaluate products. If something happens along the manufacturing line, what was to blame for that? So the Six Sigma concept was, I forget who founded it for some reason. I was just reading about it a little bit. But the way they have made it is like you can be a black belt in Six Sigma. So is your company or is your manufacturing plant a black belt, a green belt, and created this whole framework around lean manufacturing. And so, yeah, it's a concept that you should look into. I mean, I'm not the pro on it for sure.
But the fact that you plugged it in for your clients who aren't really into manufacturing.
It's a similar framework, right? Like Color Method is helping them be far more clinically efficient and saving them money and fixing a lot of their problems, right? So just like Six Sigma for, manufacturing leaders is fixing a lot of their problems and giving them the framework, like the tools and the training in order to do that, other than just like hoping for the best, right? Yeah. And so we've got a lot of ground to cover because dental, like the majority of practices aren't practicing lean clinical workflows. And so that's why Zirc can step in that gap and really help them with that.
And you were a rarity. You talked about, once you got into, being a chiropractor, you maybe liked the practitioner side of it less and the entrepreneurial side of it more. I think for most folks, it's probably the opposite. They get into a field like that because of, probably the same reason you got into it in the first place. You want to help people, you want to work with people, improve their lives, things like that. Yeah. But this other part isn't necessarily second nature for a lot of, dentists. It's probably the same for doctors and things like that. So we can sell the hardware, we can sell the infrastructure. Here's a toolkit to help make your business a little more efficient, minimize mistakes, move through patients faster, give them a better experience. But without that knowledge background that we can also provide, that consulting piece to explain how to implement this system optimally, you're really just buying a computer without any software,
Yeah, true.
Yeah, and luckily the products, in that way, you can try to figure it out yourself, right? You can buy a tub and you can buy a tray and you can buy mirrors and all sorts of stuff like that and put it together. But there is a most efficient way. And so like I love the way that Six Sigma puts it with their their belts. So you earn a belt based on how well you know or how well you're implementing it. Color Method is the same way. Yeah. Although we don't have anything cool like black belts.
No, maybe we should start. That's a color code in itself.
That's a good point. You can color code your level.
Yeah, but it really brings us home. It really brings it home, the whole Color Method system. When you actually pull in our consulting piece, all of our sales staff is former clinicians. They might be hygienists or dental assistants. It's not just a salesperson who's trying to run you up a high bill. They really do know what it takes to run a practice efficiently, and they can impart that knowledge on you. It's one thing to just buy. We have some awesome products, so people are going to get some benefit just by buying a Zirc branded item. But when you take advantage of the clinical sales staff that we have and their knowledge, you can really take it to the next level. And we're seeing dental practices improve their margins, improve their efficiency, become a much more well-rounded business by taking advantage of the suite of services that we offer.
All right. Awesome. All right. Well, let's wrap this thing up. So let's see. If you are in the dental industry or know somebody that is, and you're not using the Zirc process, I guess I want to call it processes, but it's the Six Sigma process. It's your products. If you're not using the Zirc products along with their recommended processes, probably selling yourself short. So check them out. The website is Zirc, ZIRC.com, Zirc.com. Is there anything else you want to touch on? Sound good?
Sounds great.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for being here. And thanks for listening, guys.
Thanks for listening to the American Made Podcast. Want to be a guest on American Made or know someone who should be? Apply online at theamericanmadepodcast.com. Don't forget to like and subscribe on your favorite podcast app to be notified when new episodes become available. And we'll see you next time on American Made.